Hi, this is Noah Figueroa with Paragon Bridge Works. In this video, I want to talk about roles and responsibilities. Here you can see on the screen where I have several different people here and I want to explain what they do. Let's start with a civil engineer. What a civil engineer does, he oversees the entire scope of the project. He typically will hire land surveyors and hydraulic engineers, and he will engage in dialogue with the structural engineer. But the civil engineer, what he's mostly concerned about is the soil itself. Some people even call him a soils engineer, but a civil engineer, they're the ones who's gonna place the abutments. They may even give us some recommendations on the type of abutments to build and any other restrictions that we may be forced with that we should consider. So, a civil engineer, they have a pretty broad subject and scope. Land surveyor. What a land surveyor does, all he's going to do is he's going to go out and just give us the topography of the site. He'll let us know exactly what the banks are, what the elevations are, what the slopes are. You can see here, like here on this site where we have all these different grades. This land surveyor is going to tell us what the grades are. Okay, a civil engineer will not go out and measure your site himself. He will hire a land surveyor. Now, once he gets that information, generally the civil engineer, he's going to take that back. He's going to run some basic numbers. He may even contact the city or the county or even whoever is governing the waterway and determine if there's any restrictions on flow or if there's any concerns with flooding or any hydraulic concerns. And if he's at all concerned with any kind of hydraulic information, or if there's not enough hydraulic information found, then he's going to go and hire a hydraulic engineer. And a hydraulic engineer, all they're going to know is the flow of the water, the flow rate and the volume. And that's going to tell us, that's going to tell the civil engineer how much volume that water is going to consume or take up, which means if this hydraulic engineer tells the civil engineer that the water flow is going to reach, way up to the top of the banks, then we know we need to put the bridge up a lot higher, or maybe the flow rate is going to be so low, it's going to be just a few inches here, so it's insignificantly low. That's what the hydraulic engineer does. Okay. Now, a structural engineer, that's what Paragon Bridge Works. That's who we primarily work with here is structural engineers. We're responsible, or a structural engineer, they're responsible for anything above the dirt, the abutment, the bridge. Sometimes a civil engineer will design the abutments, but a civil engineer typically does not design or give any analysis on the bridge itself. That's a structural engineer's responsibility. They'll analyze the superstructure of the bridge. So then you really have a choice. Do you want your civil engineer, or do you want your structural engineer designing your abutments? There's pros and cons to either of them. A civil engineer is going to know more about the soils. A structural engineer is going to know more about the superspan. So you get to pick one. Obviously, you have a preference. Since we work with structural engineers, we know them pretty well. We have kind of some canned engineering plans or some templates that we use for our abutments. We do bridges all day long, right? So that we know bridges. So our structural engineers are very adept at designing abutments that we like to put underneath our bridges. Whereas a civil engineer, he may design an abutment maybe a couple times a year. He can certainly do it, and he can do a great job. But in my experience, a structural engineer who has an emphasis in bridge design is going to be able to design abutments a little bit quicker than a civil engineer. Okay, then we go over here to general engineering contractors. Okay, that's what Paragon Bridge Works is. We are general engineering contractors, and that allows it's a construction trade that allows us to build bridges, heavy infrastructure, heavy anything, any kind of big project. Now that's in compared to like a B contractor or a C contractor or just a building contractor who can build a house or a building. A general engineering contractor, we can do infrastructure, roads, bridges, highways, anything big and heavy. That's a general engineering contractor. And typically, when we go out to build a bridge, we'll build the bridge itself and do all that, the metal part of it. But when it comes to the actual placing of the bridge or digging out the foundations, that's when the dirt contractor comes into play. Dirt contractors are the ones who are actually going to excavate down. They usually also can do concrete work. Sometimes they don't want to do concrete work. Sometimes all they'll want to do is grade and get everything ready. Then you have to hire an additional concrete contractor to come in and actually pour the concrete, and then a general engineering contractor to come in and set the bridge. Sometimes you can get dirt contractors to set the bridge as well. If they can, that'd be great. We can show them how to do it. And depending on who you hire, is everybody's approach on building a bridge is going to be completely different. If you initially contact a civil engineer and you tell him you want a bridge, he's going to want to first of all hire a land surveyor to go out there and survey it. He may also hire a hydraulic engineer, but then he's probably going to want to build a whole new bridge. Same thing with a structural engineer. If you contact a structural engineer directly, they're gonna want to build a completely whole new bridge and not one of our repurposed bridges. A dirt contractor, he's gonna probably reach out to a civil engineer or a structural engineer, or reach out to us to design that bridge. Obviously, if we reach out to us, we typically will hire our own structural engineer, and then we really hope that you hire a civil engineer or a land surveyor or a hydraulic engineer. That makes our job a lot easier in placing the bridge. The biggest challenge we have whenever we're placing a bridge and we don't have any of these other three trades is we don't know your site. We know the bridge really well, but the site is an unknown. And is it a nice smooth bank like it is here, nice gradual bank, or is it a cliff? And placing the abutments, we do have videos about placing abutments, but placing the abutments, we just don't know. Even if we have a land surveyor, we don't know the hydraulics, and we don't know what's really beyond the bridge. Like in this particular instance, what is beyond the bridge over this way? We have no idea. Is it a cliff? Is it a roadway? We have no idea. Is this approach going to be sufficient? So we're very, very narrow-minded when it comes to the project. All we do is we're really focused on just the bridge, the abutments, and that's it. Anything beyond that goes over to the civil engineer. Now, can a landowner take charge and do a lot of these? Certainly, it's your property, and I think if you want to do your own analysis and tell us where to build a bridge, we're okay with that too. But when it comes to engineering and applying for permits, you're probably going to need some of these over here. So I think that's let me give you some prices. A land surveyor, typically they're going to charge you between $1,500 to $3,500 to go out there and measure it. A hydraulic engineer, those prices vary quite a bit depending on what the creek is, but you can generally expect to pay between $2,000 to $6,000 for a hydraulic engineer. A civil engineer, their scope really varies, so I can't really discuss that. We have our own fees for structural engineers, and obviously dirt contractors. Their prices are going to vary depending on the complexity of your site and the difficulty of, is it full of water? Is it way out in the middle of nowhere? Is it really steep banks? It's going to be dangerous to get across. So those are those are all the trades. Hopefully this video has helped you, and to help you just choose which guys you want to use to help you with your project. I appreciate it. Thanks.